On episode 307 of the podcast, we talk about the difference between consistency versus intensity and why it's crucial to know the difference. We also talk about the new definition of marketing and how it's not about getting the sale. And finally, we talk about how personal branding is important, even if you don't consider yourself a personal brand. What's up, friend? I'm Ryan Coral from Studio Sherpas, and this is the Grow Your Video Business Podcast. Whew, that's a lot of words. This is the show for corporate and commercial filmmakers where we talk about the business of production. I'm so excited about today's episode. My friend Mike Kim came on, and the things that we talk about, so good. It's a really good episode. Hey, if you're in a spot in your video business where you're wanting better clients, you want to charge more, you just want to run a better, smoother business, and maybe create some what is the word where you know it's coming, like work is coming, it's in the pipeline, and you're not having to do the same thing all the time to try to land new work, but I still can't think of the word. Anyway, if any of that sounds like you, I want to invite you to watch my free workshop where I've taken the last 18 years of running a video business company. I've learned a lot in 18 years. I've done some things right, and I've done plenty of things wrong, and I've jam-packed, I think, the top things inside of this workshop to give you a path to success. Hopefully you can learn a lot faster than I did, and I try to do that inside of this workshop. You can get access to this completely free workshop if you go to studiosherpas.com/workshop. It's there waiting for you to go download. So go do that. And that's all I have to say. I'm really, really, really excited about this interview here. So let's roll the tape and get right into it. What am I doing with my hands? I don't know. What's up, friends? Hey, welcome to this episode of the podcast. Today, I have my good friend Mike Kim with me on the show. Mike is a brand strategist for business thought leaders, coaches, and authors who want to create impact with their ideas and get their messages heard. Mike is the author of the Wall Street Journal bestselling book, which I have mentioned on this show before. It is called You Are the Brand, the 8-Step Blueprint to Showcase your unique expertise and build a highly profitable, personally fulfilling business. If you don't have this book, get it. But right now, maybe we don't need the book because this episode is going to be so powerful and amazing. Mike, welcome back to the show. It's been like a couple hundred episodes since you've been here, but so happy to have you.
That's no one's ever said that. A couple hundred episodes. That is a weird metric to think about, but thank you. I'm super honored to be here. Thanks for talking about the book. Y'all should still get it. It's really cheap right now, and it will be forever. But I guarantee it'll be worth the $8.
Dude, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's only $8.
Thank you. I don't know, publishers.
That's crazy. Here's my recommendation. I do have the hardcover, or no, the softcover book, but I also have the Audible version, which I highly recommend. So Mike also has a podcast, which that's kind of how I first heard of Mike. He interviewed a guy named Ray Edwards, who I deeply respect and have had the opportunity to tell Ray's story not that long ago, but his podcast is amazing, and totally lost my train of thoughts. The audio book, so good. Not only do you get to hear Mike's sexy voice, but he also does these little interviews, sort of like case studies in between each chapter, which I think dude, I love that you did that. That was so good and super, super helpful and applicable.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of work, but it was fun. And I wanted to kind of add another element into the experience of the book, especially because people are listening on audio. Like, why not do that, right? Mm-hmm. So, it's just going to serve people in different mediums, and here we are on video, and if you're watching on video, you see us, and if you don't, you don't. You won't know that I'm drinking a gin tonic on this call if you're listening.
They will.
Well, I just told everybody now.
Yeah. So here's the other fun story. Right. Yes, cheers. Mine is straight gin. If you're seeing, I have a huge glass. It's actually water. Let's just not tell Mike. So I got to spend a lot of quality time with Mike in Nashville. Just was that 3 weeks ago? Seems like forever ago. A lot has happened since that trip. Mike also is responsible for giving me an incredible tool back in 2018, I think, is when we first met in person at your event in Austin. And that's when my eyes were open to hosting a very small conference of 40. You had 40 people at that event that I attended. And I was like, man, just 40 people. I'm like, this is weak, dude. And it ended up being like one of the most powerful, it was the most powerful event I had ever been to in a business context. And then I just said after that event, I'm like, I need to do something exactly like this. And that's when I created the Onward Summit, which, if you've listened to the show for 2 seconds, you've heard me talk about how special that event is. And that's all because Mike invited me to his event, and I got to see how cool a small gathering like that can be. So again, thank you for introducing me and inviting me to that event.
Yeah, my pleasure. I think small is the new big in many ways. We need events of all sizes, right? And they all serve their own purpose. But for the everyday business owner who is in the line of work that you and I are both in, we're both creatives. We probably wear most of the hats in our own businesses, and it's probably the same for everyone who's tuning in right now. You need that connection. You need to be able to go deep with people.
Yeah.
And also, a lot of creatives don't want to meet thousands of people. It's overwhelming. They just want to kind of connect with other people in their craft, in their industry, or even a little bit of cross-pollination. But that's more meaningful, I think, to a lot of folks. And that's kind of what I wanted when I was starting out in business. And I just kind of built what I thought I wish I had when I started out. And it served me really well. And I will also say, Ryan, and you know this now that you've done it, running small events is a lot easier than running huge events.
I bet.
I mean, there's still similar weight to it, but the logistics side of things, man, it's just way better. And you get to talk to people, you get to know the people who are coming. So yeah, all that jazz.
Yeah, I love that. So earlier this year, I think July is when I joined your Mastermind, and that was really cool to be able to get more access to you. Plus, I just had the experience of being introduced to all these amazing people that you had at your Austin event. And I was just smart enough to make a good decision in my life and say, yes, if I can be around more of the people that you're connected to, people that follow and just put into practice the things that you teach, that's just going to be good for me. So being in the Mastermind has been so good. I mean, the quality of people, plus going to Nashville and then being able to meet other people that are part of a handful of other Mastermind groups that you're leading. That was a huge gift. Ton of fun. Lots of making fun of me and the Jeffrey Dahmer glasses. That was a good. That was a good time. Wasn't it a good time, Mike?
It was a good time. I feel a little bit weird about making fun of using a serial killer to make fun of people. It's a little odd, the culture we live in.
Yes,
right?
It is odd.
But you did look like him.
I did, and I'm changing the narrative. And also, is I would just like to say that everybody had fun with it in the context of it being a Netflix show. Let's forget. Let's just try. I know it's real, but that's the context that I was being made fun of, not real whatever. And so okay, there's that. I would love to just talk for a minute about masterminds. That's not on my notes here, but knowing that that's kind of like the background. And I just told you before we hit record, I said, hey, I'm for sure signing back up in January to continue in the Mastermind because it's been so helpful and so transformational to be able to get access. I mean, I love just hopping into the Slack and asking all my dumb questions of hey, what do you think about this title for this thing? And getting people to say that's a good title, or what about this? Or have you thought about this? Have you tried this? And then to get hot seats and to be able to ask more hard questions and get people speaking into my business, because as a business owner, you feel alone, you feel by yourself, and kind of exactly what you're saying, as a creative, needing a small group of people to link arms with and to kind of do this thing together. It's like having a board of advisors that know your business and that want the best for you. So what's your take on? I mean, you really are spending a lot of energy in the Mastermind principle.
I believe you have to stay close to the fire of growing people. That's it. And if you're gonna be successful as a business owner, especially in our space, and what I mean by our space is you're the brand. You know, you're a personal brand. You're creative. You're the primary driver of the business. If you get sick, you go to sleep, things are really going to come to a halt.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to slow down and then come to a halt. And we tend to be people in our industry, right, in this field. And, you know, again, I'm talking to you and everyone else who's listening in this field. We're the primary engine. And if you aren't taking care of yourself and you're not continually pushing yourself to grow, neither will your business. We're not selling widgets. We're not selling cameras. We're not selling, you know, other brick and mortar type products that can kind of go on without us. We are selling our ideas. We're spending our energy, our creativity in making those ideas come to fruition. And if you don't take care of yourself and you don't surround yourself with people that you can run with and grow with, you're going to hit a lid sooner than later.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when I think of this concept of a mastermind, you have a set number of people who do come from different backgrounds and have learned their own things, and they don't want to just learn from one person. They don't want to just go to class, if you will. Leaders want to lead. They want to contribute. And honestly, we want friends. We want people we can let our hair down with, and joke around with, and have fun with. And depending on your personality type or the way that you run your business, you can't really do that always with the people that work for you or work with you.
That's
you
good.
need other people who you can just kind of like vent across with, if you will, right? Not always down. So I'm very fortunate that over the 7-8 years of my business, I have become really good friends with the people I work with. You met Chelsea Brinkley. Yeah. She's the best. A dear, dear friend.
Yeah.
You know, and we just be friends now, even if we don't work together. But that's very rare, right? And so to be able to get together with other folks, learn from one another, encourage one another, and be inspired by a group dynamic, I will say this, it's a different type of inspiration and motivation when you're running with a pack of people versus one coach or mentor who's telling you what to do. It's a very different dynamic.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between being a golfer or tennis player versus being on a football team or basketball team. Like, you don't want to let the team down. Yeah. And when the team does things, you're like, you know what? I'm going to step up my game. I'm going to contribute to this team. And so there's a lot of that element. And I just love it. I love the way that it's set up. After several years, I've figured out what really works well for me and what I love doing and how I love doing those things. And it's just extremely rewarding for me to see, you know, people connect and collaborate and just laugh and do life together.
Yeah, that's so good. I remember one of the first things that I did when I was probably a year into my business, and I had a good friend of mine who had been in business for a long time, was doing like selling auto parts or something like that. And I remember on his website, he had this like board of advisors, and like a couple of guys were, you know, guys that we went to church with. One was like the pastor, and like just these other like smart business guys. And I was like, man, it's so smart to like board of advisors. Like, tell me more about that. And from that, I created like, you know, I invited 5 different people. I'm like, hey, I just want to like kind of present where my business is at and just have you guys like poke holes. And I did that like year 1 of being in business. And I was nervous, and I thought, you know, and I was like, well, I'm just going to be honest too. And like, I'm not going to try to paint like some beautiful pictures here. And I got such good insight from these guys that really were for the success of me and my tiny little family, just Andrea and I. And that was helpful. It was helpful to get outsider, you know, insight. And then, you know, fast forward all these years later to realize that this rhythm of like having people, you know me, want the best for me, and also kind of in the same world of like, what does it look like to run a business for all of us? It looks different, but there are certain things that we all struggle with, that we're all trying to figure out, and to be on this journey together. Some people read books and apply those and can speak in from. Other people have the experience of like, well, I lost it. My best employee quit, and here's what we did. Here's how we recovered and bounced back. So to hear those stories, even if it's not where I'm at, man, it's just such a massive, I just feel like it's an unfair advantage, right, to be in those kinds of circles.
Yeah, and there are folks in our lives where even friends, colleagues, mentors, yeah, you might call them when you need something.
Yeah, totally.
But the regularity and the intentionality of a mastermind group, the way I run them is we meet every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's just like a family. It's just like any real long-term relationship. There are going to be days where some calls are better than others, right? There are going to be times, probably even in our relationships, like, you have a marriage, and sometimes there's a season where it's amazing, and then there are other days where it's just a regular day, and then there are other days where people are going through some really hard stuff. Mm-hmm. And the intentionality, I'll never turn away a friend who needs to talk.
Yeah.
But if I know I'm going to see you for 90 minutes every 2 weeks, there's a different energy that's around that. And I'm
Totally.
a real big believer in the energy and the intention behind the energy. And if you show up with that energy to be there for your friends, to be there with this council of people that you're growing and doing life with, you're gonna gain something that you wouldn't from a relationship that's predicated on you just calling them when you need them, or them just checking in with you once in a while.
Yeah.
It's very different. So there's another piece to it in business where, and this is more a life principle, but it applies to business, consistency is often greater than intensity.
Dude,
so
that's good.
It's the same with diet. It's the same with exercise.
Yeah.
It's the same with getting the proper amount of sleep. Having that level of consistency where you're connecting with others, the same group of people over time, and everyone's growing, it's a different type of energy. And I will say this, like, I've never met a person who has been successful in this line of work that has not been in a mastermind group. They've all been in it. Anyone who's in the space of advising others, sharing ideas, getting their ideas out into the world, they don't do this in isolation.
Yeah.
They've all been part of a group, whether it met every 2 weeks or every month or whatever that regularity is. I've never met a single person who has been truly, truly successful that has not been in an environment like that of their own accord.
Yeah, that's saying a lot. That the idea behind consistency versus intensity, I really like that, because immediately where my mind went was, we just wrapped our Onward Summit in October, beginning of October, and I know everybody left. They were sky high. They're like, man, this was amazing. I looked at all of the surveys, all of them but one. Everybody was like, this is the best thing ever. I'm still, learning from the one that said, no, this wasn't. But everybody that left with ideas and things that they're going to do, and, all of this stuff. It was intense, right? It was 3 days of learning and conversations and tears and laughing, all this stuff. But we all know what happens. You go to an event and you're lucky if you're able to apply one thing, because if you just go back to being by yourself, then the chances of that happening really decrease. And so I'm thinking about this, if there's an event that you're like, man, I look forward to that event every year so that I can experience this high, and that's a cool feeling. But if you're not consistent with revisiting what is that thing or those things that I wanted to do or change or become or whatever, then it's all for naught. And it's wow, we're wasting huge opportunities if we're not consistent. I think that's powerful, dude.
The word I give to that is integration. You got to integrate it into you. Now, you had no idea this was coming, but where this principle came live to me was about 3 years ago. I took my first psychedelic guided retreat journey. And this is not to get high or whatever. This is a guided thing. It was multiple days. And I just actually got back from one this weekend. You had no idea. I just came back 2 days ago.
I could tell you're looking a little, you're sideways right now. Just kidding.
Oh yeah. I was like in Andromeda, And any facilitator worth that salt in that space, it's like therapy on steroids. It's better than talk therapy, in my opinion.
Oh,
You tap into your higher self and you say all these things and you don't realize you're saying them, which is why it's guided. So they record everything and then you integrate. You talk about what you said.
yeah.
Because if you go right back into your original environment, when I came back home, now this is the third retreat that I've done over the last several years. I do about one a year. That's what it averages out to. They are absolutely like rabid about this concept of integration. Because actually it hurts you more if you have the experience and don't integrate it
Well,
than if you didn't go at all.
Yeah.
Because you'll just talk about, wow, I had these profound takeaways, but you didn't implement them.
Yeah.
And now you actually know too much and you think you're better.
ooh,
You think you are more expanded. And so you go to this conference, whatever conference it is, and people learn all these new things that can help them in business or their mindset or whatever. And they're like, oh, I know that. I heard someone say that. And it just stays right here at the top of your conscious mind, but it doesn't integrate into who you are.
yeah,
And so that's where the rubber meets the road, right? It's like, oh, no, I did a workout once, 10 weeks ago. And you don't integrate it and you don't make these changes in your life. It actually hurts you more because then you'll meet somebody who says, hey, what's the secret to getting healthier? Oh, exercise, eat well, sleep well. Oh, yeah, I know that. Yeah, but what's the real secret? And it actually becomes now an obstacle because you know these things and you're using them against you. So that happens in the business space a lot.
yeah.
It happens in courses and coaching programs that I've run.
Yep.
And it's why I run the masterminds now, basically 10 months out of 12. We take a 2-month break, 1.5 year and the one at the end of the year. But that integration piece and walking with the same people through some of these experiences is so vital.
Yeah.
It's integration, it's integration.
I love that. Yeah, that's super powerful. And I could not agree more. I mean, there's so many books I've listened to and courses that I bought that it's like, oh yeah. And not applying or going back, looking at my notes and like, okay, how do I integrate this? That's pretty powerful. Okay, let's talk about you're the brand or I'm the brand or we're the brand, right? So we've, as owning a video business, all of us that have a video business, there are some that feel like, okay, I branded, I hired somebody, went through this process, or I figured it out on my own. Or other people, I remember when I first started my business, I just thought a brand was a logo, and so I was off to the races. What's the worst thing that could happen if someone isn't clear on their brand identity?
They leave it to other people to define what it is. And that happens no matter what.
Yeah.
But if you're intentional about a brand or about your own brand, then you set the narrative for how you want to be known. The real test is how people explain or describe you when you're not in the room. I heard somebody say this once, and you know how it is with quotes on the internet. You don't really know who said it.
Anon.
Right? But I think somebody said once that I liked. They said, a brand is what they say about you when you're not in the room. And I'm like, okay, that's partially true.
Yeah.
It's like sort of like your reputation, right? But in this day and age, especially with all the stuff on social media that we do, a brand is what people say about you before you even get in the room. And if they don't even know who you are or don't have anything to say, you won't get into the room.
Yeah.
You won't get into. You won't get. You can get in through the doors. All of us have been at a networking event or a conference of some sort where nobody had any idea who we are. And that sucks, dude. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, hey, I'm Ryan, or I'm blah, blah, blah. Where are you from? And you ask all these surface level questions. Where are you from? What do you do?
Yep.
Oh, that's interesting. And you move on to the next person. Whereas when you step into a room and people might know you a little bit from what you post online or a podcast or whatever it is and say, oh, you're Ryan, or, oh, you're Mike. I've seen you online.
Yeah.
And okay, cool. And they have a little bit of knowledge about what you are and what you do or who you are. The traction is so much greater.
Oh, man.
When you do that. And that's a brand. I just say a brand is an identity. It's an identity. And you define your identity. You don't just leave it up to other people. And then with a personal brand, what I mean by that, because we all have these personal brands have been around forever. I think people think this is a new thing.
Yeah.
But dude, when you and I were growing up, we're about the same age. we knew who all the celebrities were. We knew who all the star athletes were. Like, these people had a certain reputation. And it wasn't about who the best player was. It was about who we liked, who we vibed with, right? So a personal brand is really an identity that's built around your ideas, your expertise, your reputation, and your personality. It's not just being, quote unquote, the best.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, by and large, is considered the best basketball player who ever lived, but he is not everyone's favorite player.
Right.
By far. Some people just don't like his personality.
Yeah.
And they don't vibe with him. So, like, people do the same thing with us in business. You could be the best producer, the best videographer, the best visual storyteller, and people just won't like your energy. And a lot of people make decisions that way. The end product, if it's just a few degrees off, if it's close enough, they'd rather work with somebody that they like.
Yep.
So that's where branding comes into play.
I love that. I use that all the time when we're talking to our video clients to say, like, what tell me more about, okay, well, we create these brand stories. We make video with soul. The idea is when you're looking at two companies that are, similar in what they offer, when you connect, when in the best, fastest way to do that outside of in person is creating a video that really gets to the soul of who you are, because you're going to attract the right people and you'll repel the people that don't connect or vibe with your brand. And that's the ideal, right? You want to work with people that get you and they're like, yeah, I totally align with this brand, versus, getting halfway through the relationship or the video project and realizing, like, wow, like, we're on very different pages here. Like, we have different values and we see the world differently, and we're approaching, we approach business very differently, and they're treating us like garbage, and then we're supposed to, try to do the best we can to give them the best experience, but, like, they're just walking all over us. They don't value anything that we do. Like, it's really that becomes like a really hard client, a really hard project, and nobody's referring anybody after that. If anything, they're talking negatively or just not at all. Yeah,
totally. We don't realize that people make some decisions on who to work with just based on vibe.
Yeah.
Just totally based on vibe, based on energy. Now, I don't want to get too woo-woo, but I'm like all into the energy stuff, Yeah. So I would go do drugs over the weekends, and try to find myself. But again, honestly, that all pulls back to, you got to grow, you got to take care of yourself, right? And I don't know how many billion people there are in this world. There's way more people that I could ever serve and help directly. And the more I just own myself and be myself, tell the stories that my journey has written, the easier it is to go market. People think that marketing and branding are these really abstract concepts. Marketing, in the eyes of most business owners, is a necessary evil. And I'm like, it's not, if it's aligned with who you are and what you want.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I build my business and I make my offers around the way my personality is wired.
Yeah.
And work is work, but that's why I don't ever feel out of alignment. I used to.
Yeah.
Before I learned a lot of this stuff and before I did the work on myself. But I run my business and I serve the kind of clients that I want to, based on the way that I'm built. And that's really, really, really important for me. And then that becomes part of the brand. It becomes part of, what others say about me. They're like, working with Mike, he's not the most, like, he's not going to call you every day. He's not going to text you every day. He's not going to give you 100 updates. He's going to get it done by the time he gets it done. And he's just easy to work with. He's just like, okay, he's super chill. And my clients are often like, I feel really frantic and overwhelmed. And then they talk to me and they're like, oh, I just feel a lot calmer with you. And cool.
Yeah.
Now, there are other people I've hired that are the opposite of me, and I needed that. I needed that to like be a little crazy and, 100 miles an hour. But by and large, I've built my business around myself in that regard, and I've played it to my strengths. And I believe that that's what all of us should do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. You have a saying, it's like marketing opens doors or something.
Yeah.
Can you?
So I say marketing. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah. But you do it, not me.
Marketing isn't about closing a sale. It's about opening a relationship. And so every piece of content you create, every email you write, whatever it is, the goal isn't to close that person. Because honestly, I mean, I don't want to work with everybody who watches my stuff.
Right.
We're
Totally.
not going to be the right fit.
Totally.
But I can build a relationship with them, and the right people will continue to move closer, to the proximity to me, and I'll move closer to them. And so if we look at it that way, that marketing isn't just putting out an ad and sounding or feeling like some used car salesman. You're going out there and you're sharing your expertise, your ideas, you're showcasing your personality and your reputation, those 4 things that I said. It makes it easier for the right people to find you. I mean, people are rooting for you to be the solution.
Right.
Dude, I mean, I don't know a single person out there who wants to shop for 3 weeks with 100 different visual storytellers or videographers. They want to nail the one on the first try.
Right.
And what
That's
we
good.
tend to do, like on our side of the ball, is that we do a lousy job showcasing those things, making it easy for people to know, like, trust, try, and then buy, and then repeat and refer us. I'll never forget, a couple of years ago, I was looking for an attorney. I went through a divorce several years ago. And I am in chaos. I am in pain,
Yeah.
right? I am, like, the world is spinning. And I was looking up lawyers here in New Jersey, and I was like, these people are morons. Like, literally, they have the worst marketing I've ever seen. I'm already in a bad state.
Right. Yeah.
Do you think I want to call 50 different attorneys?
Oh my
I was
gosh.
like praying to God that the first guy I Googled would be
Yeah.
the one, And when people call us, it's because they have a problem. They don't want to admit they have a problem, but that's why they're calling us.
Yeah.
They're like, my marketing isn't really up to snuff, or I probably need to do some more with video. They do not want to check through 100 different people. They might say they want to,
Right.
but they don't. They're lying. They want to nail the perfect one on the first try. So when you do your marketing and you showcase those things and you build your brand that way, then it makes it easy for people to go down that progression and end up working with you.
We had a question come in. Kyle Smeroldo, he in response to this, marketing can open doors or should open doors. He said, "How do you form that relationship out of nothing?" So I'm assuming that he's just like, maybe he's just starting or he's focusing on a specific niche or something like that. And he's just kind of like, okay, like I think that sounds great, marketing to open doors, but like where do you start?
We have this awesome thing called social media, and you just post it.
Let me Google that.
Yeah, you know who's on social media for all of us? People who know us. They already know us. I was there. I every business owner has started at that point. I remember my first client, Ryan, was probably 2013. No, so almost 10 years ago.
Wow.
Almost 10 years ago. And I came out of a completely different career. I worked in vocational ministry. I was the music director for church. And I stepped into a marketing role at this company, but I knew I didn't want to stay at that company. I knew it was a dead end, right? And I wanted to start my own business. I felt the urge to do that. I had no idea how. I said the same thing that I think Kyle, his name was, said.
Yeah.
Nobody knows me for this. In fact, they know me for something completely different. And I went on Facebook because my friends are on Facebook and my acquaintances are on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just post content about what I knew about marketing. And I was opening a relationship, a new topic of discussion with these people.
Yeah.
And I was just sharing what I knew. My first ever client was named Nick. He called me or emailed me. He was the drummer in a church band that I played with like 2 or 3 years earlier. We weren't even close. I knew who he was.
Yeah.
He knew who I was. But by sharing my blog posts and some updates on this stuff, and then going on my little dinky website, which was like 2 pages, he's like, "Can I work with you?" And he hired me. That was my first ever client because I did the hard work of showcasing my ideas, my expertise. He knew my personality. I shared those things, and it allowed us to open a relationship. And this is really important. A lot of us don't realize this, and y'all can take this. It's in my book, but you can take it. People in this day and age, people want to build these relationships at their own pace and in their own space. What I mean by that is they want to creep out. Yeah. They want to stalk you in the privacy of their own home and their own energy and their own time.
Yeah.
But the internet is a 24/7 storefront. That's the amazing thing. Like these business owners will be staring up at the ceiling like, oh my God, how am I going to get my marketing up to snuff? And what are they doing? They're doom scrolling on Facebook or Instagram or any other social network. And they come across a post and they're like, okay, this Ryan guy's saying something about visual storytelling with heart. Okay, cool. And they see another post and another post. And eventually they get to this point where they're just like, okay, I've seen this guy a little while. Let me just check him out. And they contact you and you're like, oh my gosh, where did this lead come from? Holy crap, this is amazing. Well, they were like stalking you at 1 in the morning on their phone. That's what I mean by marketing is an opportunity to open these relationships. But you've got to do the hard work to create that content. Yeah. You've got to do the stuff that allows people to meet you in their space and at their own pace. Because last I checked, people typically do not like talking about their problems.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little bit tough. So like if you give them the opportunity to kind of connect with you, you're way ahead. I cannot tell you how many times people have said, hey, I've been stalking you for a while. They will literally use that word stalk. I've been listening to your podcast here and there, or I read every email that you send.
Yep.
Opening relationship.
That's so funny that you bring that up. It's so relevant. And this is the irony of all ironies. I created the most recent to-do I created in my little app right before this podcast was introduce Danielle to Mike. My friend Danielle, who hired us years ago, turned out to be one of our biggest clients ever. She found us on Google. I'm assuming she did some stalking based on her post that I read right before this episode on LinkedIn. She said, "Hey, I might be." It was this idea of stalking. She's like, "I might stalk you. I'm gonna." She used the word creep. I'm gonna creep on your stuff. I'm gonna look at you, but you're never gonna know who I am. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I will spend $3,000 on your program. She's like, that's how I buy stuff. So just remember that. And anyway, she posted that, and I was like, oh man, I got to introduce her to Mike Kim. And it's hilarious that we're even talking about this very specific thing about creeping or stalking or whatever, because I'm going to make that introduction, and it's full circle or something like that. So I've got one last big topic or thing that I want to talk about. We're talking about personal branding. In the video space, in photography space, and whatever space, I think when people start out, they're like, well, okay, I got to come up with my business name, and my business name ends up being my name. Okay, Ryan Coral Video Company. Okay, so that's my personal brand. It's obvious that I need to have a personal brand. I'm glad that I didn't start as the Ryan Coral Video Company. So here I am today with a different name, and regardless of where you're at, if your name is in the name of the business or it's not, the question might be like, well, do I have to be a personal brand? Like Tell Studios is not a person, right? Tell Studios is our video production company. So does it make sense to turn that into a personal brand, or do we really just focus on the Tell Studios brand? What do you tell people that are in that situation trying to figure that out?
I bet if I dug a little deeper and looked at your client base, probably over 80% of the clients came because they like you, because you're the founder of the business. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to use your name for the business. You can make it another identity. I actually talk about this in the book, actually very early on, because it's a question that a lot of people have. What do I name my business? Yeah. In my industry as a coach and a consultant, no one has ever said, contact higheredgesolutions.com, and that's not a real domain, right. At least for me. I'm sure it is somewhere. They say, call Mike.
Yeah.
And I know that I will never be able to sell my business. at least this consulting arm of it, I'm never going to be able to sell it. It is me. And a lot of businesses and even global brands have started that way. Do people really think Chanel is a brand? It started because it was Coco Chanel's last name. And you see this everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Now, there are other businesses and brands that have been built that are iterative of those names. Walmart, the Walton family. Sam's Club, Sam Walton, right?
Yeah.
Now, those are global brands and these huge things. But ultimately, you can name the business whatever you want. But for those of us in this space, and I'm talking to your audience here, for most of us, I would dare say that most of our leads, the vast majority of our clients and leads, probably found us because of us. So just own it. Now, if you intend one day to sell, tell studios, great, use that name, but they're not really going to buy the name unless you become a brand like globally known. They're probably going to want your email list, your customer list, right? Your intellectual property. Those are the hard assets when people buy agencies. And you can build it to sell and pump the valuation and all that stuff. There's a place for that. But I bet you do that, most of your clients can be like, oh, well, Ryan's out of the game. I got to find somebody else. They're not always going to necessarily just continue if you have a new owner. So those names bring about a powerful set of associations, right? But then you look at a company and you can name this something completely different. Yes, you can. Look at Amazon. Look at Apple. They have nothing to do with the Amazon or Apple. But they've spent billions and billions of dollars to associate that business with a completely random word, right? And most of us are not in that place, and we don't want to do that, right? We're not looking to go public with a company, with our company. We're not, going to, stocks and all that jazz. So I hope that sort of makes sense. It's I can understand like, oh, I've got to name it something fancy.
Yeah.
But my guess is most of us are landing our business because of us.
Right.
And that's why I'm a big believer in the personal brand, because you already have it. It's just people know me and they call me, and that's it.
Yeah, that's really good. I think one of the things that I really try to get on people, I mean, the reason we're having this conversation is because I just love and respect you, the way that you teach, the way that you approach marketing. I hold you in high regard because we're in alignment in a lot of these thinkings in branding and whatnot. I can't stand it when I'm working with or looking at people's websites, in this case, video business owners, when I go to their website and I click on their about or I look in their front page and they've got like no pictures of themselves, right? So it's really like there's a fear of, man, if they found out that it's me or it's just me, or that there's actually real people behind the scenes. Not we use stock photo and that's safe and that's okay, but I don't like the way I look, or I'm afraid that people are going to find me out and really figure out like, oh, it's just by this little bozo. This guy runs this company. It just kills me because I know that your personal brand is so important. At least it has been in both businesses that I've built. Our wedding filmmaking business back in the day, and today our corporate filmmaking business. Without the personal infusion, we wouldn't be a 7-figure video production agency. So can you speak into that at all? Is there any last thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like even when you name something, like you don't have to do Amazon and Apple and spell, like you can name it with terminology that identifies what the business is. You can stroll through any town USA, there'll be something like Williams Consulting, right? It literally says what it is, like, Sal's Pizza. I mean, it's just that, but it's still, there's like the name of the proprietor in there, right? Gary Vaynerchuk, his media company is literally called Vayner Media. It's a media company founded by this guy Gary, and his name works and flows well with it, right? But the name, the brand, you carry an overpowering set of emotions and qualities and associations. Like, just think of these names. I'm just randomly, but they're jolting. Trump. I mean, someone hear that, they're just going to cringe right now. Tiger, Gaga, Madonna, Ellen.
Yeah.
These are all just their name.
Yeah.
And it carries this weight, right? And again, like Chanel and, Ferragamo, and it happens a lot in the fashion industry because they evolve into the style of clothing, right? That becomes their brand, right? Gucci. These are all family names. Even Kohler Faucets.
Yeah.
That was the name of their family, right? The founder. So a lot of us think that we need a name, or we need to build that thing up so that, or we don't want to be personal.
Right.
We don't want to put ourselves out there. And I'm telling you that they already do. People are already associating you with that.
Yeah. So you might as well leverage it.
So, yeah, you might as well. There's this crazy story a couple of years ago. I was running some Facebook ads for my business. I had a designer. He designed some great looking graphics, and my Facebook ads person forgot to upload the graphic on one of the ads that I paid to have designed. And so Facebook, what it did was just pulled a random photo from my website, and it was my headshot. It was really ugly. It was like a rectangular photo, because that's how Facebook sizes things.
Right.
But it was a circle headshot. So it cut off the top and bottom of my face like this, and it was just a circle, and the outsides were black. And that ad converted like 6 times greater than every other ad, because the people on Facebook knew my face. They're like, oh, that's Mike.
Yeah.
That's such a weird picture. Let me click on it. Dude, I was joking with my team. I was like, designer, you're fired. I don't need you. I'm just going to use my face. Like, apparently it's $1 million face, And people and we say, it's a cliche, a picture speaks 1,000 words, but in many cases, your headshot is your best logo.
Yeah.
For many businesses out there, it's your best logo. And it doesn't matter if you're ugly, if you think you're ugly, if you're wearing freaky glasses like Ryan sometimes does, it is the best logo because people just know you.
Right.
So you got to step in. Otherwise, you're just fighting uphill. And again, if you intend to sell one day, and you're building this brand, and you have this name, and you're going to go sell this for multiple millions of dollars, cool. Most of us, I would dare say, probably aren't going to get to that point and don't want to. We love what we do.
Yeah.
We just want it to grow. We want to get out of the business a little bit more, but you can't escape the power of your name and your personal brand.
Yeah. Dude, love it. So good. Yep. The book is You Are the Brand. You can get it on Amazon and probably all the other places. My recommendation is to get the book and also get the audiobook again, so you can hear Mike and get these extra stories that come along with the audiobook. Mike, where else can people follow along with all of the cool things that you're doing?
Instagram is probably the place I'm most active. It's at Mike Kim. And then if you like podcasts, you can jump over to mine, You Are the Brand. It's called You Are the Brand. I named it after the book. Very consistent branding, right? Just identity. And that's probably the best way to get a hold of me, Instagram and the podcast.
That's great. And do you have a download or something that you wanted to share with our audience?
Yeah. You can get onto my list at mikekim.com/list. We always have a different freebie or bonus there. Right now, one of the things that we do year round, we have a membership called Mike Kim Marketing School, and it's just all the stuff that I know about marketing that's in there. And you can go get some free downloads that are taken right out of that program. And if you're interested, you can just jump in. It's a very, very nominal cost, very affordable. And we bring experts like Ryan in and other people who talk about all things marketing for businesses that feature you, where you are the brand. So yeah.
Love it. Yeah, Mike's stuff.
.com/list.
Yep. His very generous with stuff like that. So if you do get on his email list, he's a great writer as well. So it's glorious from all aspects. Mike, this is super fun, man. Grateful to have you today. Thanks again for just bringing the heat. It's always good to get time with you.
Thank you, bro. Talk soon.
Talk soon. All right, friend. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. If you want access to the show notes or the links that we referred to, you can just go to studiosherpas.com/307 because this was episode 307. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, I would love to hear your takeaways. What are your thoughts on personal branding? Did you agree or disagree? Were you offended that I said that if you don't have pictures of you on your website, that you're doing it wrong? Go put pictures of you on your website or a little video, introduce yourself, make yourself known. Also, if you're curious to learn more about the Mastermind or even based on the conversation that Mike and I had, the Studio Sherpas Mastermind is reopening in January, relaunching in January. So now is the time to get your application in, and you can learn all about the Mastermind, the rhythm that we're meeting. I'm actually just using the same exact rhythm that I do in Mike's group twice a month. And there's lots of things that come along with that to help you focus. And I'm excited about the new year and the opportunity to get on the same page with a very small group of you and to take you through the Mastermind principles so that you can grow in your business. So if you want more information on the Mastermind, just go to studiosherpas.com/mastermind. You got it. That's it for now. I mean, you can follow us at Grow Your Video Business on Instagram. I'm at Ryan Coral on the different socials. And if you need anything, you can email me, ryan@studiosherpas.com. I appreciate you so much. Thanks for watching. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you, any way that I can serve you to help you in your video business. Until next time, next week, onward and upward, my friend. See ya.